guys, how y'all doing? Hope everything is well. Everything is good with me. Y'all, I want to talk about this story about baby Grace. It's a little girl. She was 2 to 3 years old. And it happened in Galveston Bay Island. One day a fisherman was out. He was out fishing. And he stumbled upon a tote. Well, we would call it a basket, you know, a tote bag. You know, you put your clothes in, you know, container. And when he seen the container, he had walked over to the container, and he was like, you know, he thought he found something. Like, you know, people just throw all kinds of stuff out, but being that where he found it at, it was pretty strange, because only way you can get to Galveston Bay Island is by boat. So when he came ashore and seen the container, he opened it. He opened it and he seen some sneakers, some shoes. He seen some shoe sneakers. And when he seen them, they was lighting up. So y'all already know, like, you know how you buy the kids' shoes, you know how they walk and they got the little lights on it. So he didn't really know. So he was just like, oh my God, what is this? So he went back, got back on his boat. He went back to the land, and he told a sergeant named Jimmy. He told Jimmy, he said, Jimmy, I was just fishing and I came upon the island over there, Galveston Bay Island, and there was a canister there, like a tote. It was a tote there, and when I opened it, it had some shoes in it, and they were glowing. Like, it's different from him, because he probably never seen the little shoes that glow or whatever. So Jimmy, the sergeant, he was like, you know what, let's go. So him and Jimmy went back to Galveston Bay Island. So when Jimmy went over there, he went straight to the container himself. So he opened the container. So he looked inside. He seen the shoes too. He was like, he knows the shoes because his granddaughter, he had just bought his granddaughter a pair of them, you know, that you walk and they light up. So when he did that, he opened the bag. When he opened the bag, he seen her leg. He seen her leg in a garbage bag. When he opened up the container, the shoes was there, but when he opened up the garbage bag, it was a leg in the garbage bag. So now he freaked out. He's like, oh my God, don't touch nothing else. He put everything back, he closed it, and then he went to get DIC and ID to verify what he was seeing here.
I said, okay, I'll check en route. We met the fisherman at his house. He was gracious enough to put us in his boat and bring us back to where he had found. Well, it was dark. It wasn't cold. It was maybe in the high 40s, 48, 49. It was a clear night. We got off, and I went up to it was a plastic tote that you get like at Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, somewhere like that. He pointed it out to me. He wouldn't approach it again. Well, I went up. He said that he had seen the container, it was flashing at him. Pull the top off, and I see the shoe. It's flashing. She was double bagged and trash bagged. I grabbed the plastic and I pulled it open, and it was the rest of her leg. So we immediately backed out closed it and called for ID and CID, Marine Division, because they had to get a boat and water to bring our people out.
So now Jimmy is gonna explain to you, like, what place she was at when he found her. The only way that this container could have got there. Like I said, only way you can get there is by boat. But they do have a bridge. And Jimmy is going to tell you, like, exactly how this container could have got there. Yeah.
You'll never stop seeing it. It's eventually you got to make friends with it, or you'll drive yourself crazy thinking about it. And tell you what, that was the coldest, quietest night I'd ever spent on the water out here. They brought her down here to the old causeway, not the new causeway, the old one, and they threw her off the old causeway. It traveled a distance of a little over 5 miles from the old causeway to where we found her.
So that's the bridge that they threw her off. And what's so sad about it is, that's a child. How could anybody just throw a child away like they're throwing garbage? You know, even a mother or a family member or anybody. How could you do that? How could you just throw this poor little girl off a bridge? And when he went to get CID, they were like, wait a minute. She was decomposed so bad, excuse me, she was decomposed so bad that they could not recognize her. Like, she been there for a minute. So when they called, like I said, when they had called CID was like, you know, it hit them too, because it's a child. It's gonna hit anybody. It's a child. So they was like, you know what? We have to name her. We have to give her a name. We just cannot, you know, have this child in our, you know, in our care that was tossed away like garbage. We're gonna name her Baby Grace, and that's what they named her. They named her Baby Grace. They said before anything, we're going to give her a name, and I think that was honorable of them to give her a name, like, for real. Like I said, the grandmother said, oh my God, that's my granddaughter. So they was like, who is she? She said her name is Raleigh. Her name is Raleigh Ann Sawyer. They was like, what? Raleigh Ann Sawyer. The grandmother recognized the drawing that Lois did. Miss Gibson did. That's how good she is. That the grandmother recognized her granddaughter automatically, y'all. Like, for real. Okay, so now, once the grandmother identified her, they want to know who's her mother. They was like, who's the mom? So they said, the grandmother was like, her name is Kimberly. Kimberly. And she's married to a man called Royce. So now they got to get in contact with them, like, immediately, because this is crazy. This is crazy, because we don't have no missing children, like, right here, and they never came forward and said that y'all was missing. Yeah, y'all. So Kimberly, she met Ross on this site called Warcraft. I've never heard of it, but it's called Warcraft. So she met him on, that's how she met him. But now, Homicide ain't playing no games. They're like, yo, we need to speak to little Miss Kimberly, right? We really need to speak to Kimberly, because this little girl we found, no one came in and claimed her. So now I want y'all to watch them interrogate Kimberly. How matter of fact Miss Kimberly is. Watch her. It's a shame.
By name and date of birth, please.
Kimberly Trenner.
Had you identified Riley before she came in?
No.
So she came in before you even had Riley's name?
She sat in that chair. He's over to my right. I'm right across from her. And we're just doing a regular interview. Okay, tell me about yourself. You know, we don't even understand, referring to her husband, his parents don't know. And I said, don't know what? And she said that baby Grace is my daughter Riley. And he and I looked at each other and came back, and I said, are you telling me that your daughter, Riley Ann Sawyers, is baby Grace? And she said, yes. And we both had to act like we knew exactly what we were doing. And I said, okay, and I patted her, and I said, go ahead, keep talking. How long have you been in Texas?
First came down the end of May.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes. I was here for a week and had to go back up to Ohio for a couple days, and then I moved down the beginning of June.
How long have you been in Texas?
First came down the end of May.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes. I was here for a week and had to go back up to Ohio for a couple days, and then I moved down the beginning of June. I'm married to Royce Ziegler.
Okay.
The second.
How did Trenner make her way from Ohio to Spring, Texas, and hook up with this guy?
She met him after she had left baby daddy and moved out on her own. Actually, I think they met even before she moved out, but she was communicating with this guy on World of Warcraft. And they kept communicating even to the point, I think even after she had moved out. She had made a visit down here once without Riley, went back, and I think he paid for it. And then it was the second time that she made the move. And that would have been June or July of that.
So she came here to be with him,
yes.
Specifically.
But they met on World of Warcraft, the computer war fighting program. And what that tells you is how insecure she was in needing of him, or basically a sugar daddy or somebody to take care of her. And she was going to do anything for him she could to protect that.
Was she potty trained?
She was getting there.
Did that frustrate Royce?
Yeah.
Had you ever seen him spank her?
Yes. I mean, he really kind of tried to stay out of it at first. When we went to that realtor about the new house, that's when it really started with him. And I mean,
what really started with him?
We needed to discipline Riley.
Okay.
He could not comprehend dealing with understanding a 2-year-old child. A 2-year-old's a 2-year-old. They're gonna run rampant and drive you crazy sometimes. But that's what 2 years old do, and he couldn't cope with that, and he was determined to change her habits. Like she was a 15-year-old, not a 2-year-old.
It started off with discipline that morning. It was his decision. He was going to stay home, and he was going to help discipline this child and break the child of these bad habits of which he did not like.
He really wanted to stay home and make sure I was disciplining Riley.
Okay.
Like he had told me, look, she gets bad, you go for the belt. You don't take it. Riley got into something, I'm not sure what, and he started with it. Go get the belt. I mean, it just escalated from there. He said, we need to break her So he told me to go run some water in the bathtub. And I did, and he said, okay, the next time she screams, we're going to take her into the bathtub. The moment she would scream, he would take her and shove her into the water. And this would just go on and on. And, I mean, he wanted me to do it. He wanted me to shove her head underwater. And I found myself doing that and hitting her with the belt.
Y'all, did y'all hear her say that he wanted her to discipline her child, and he shoved her head underneath the water and turned around to her and said, you do it now. And she just, matter of fact, just, okay. And she did the same thing. What kind of mother? She's like the worst mother of the year. She's one of the worst mothers of the year to even tell this story. It's killing her inside. That's why she's just telling everything. She's telling everything because, excuse me, y'all. She's telling everything because it's killing her inside, because she knows she sounds crazy as hell. That you let this man convince you to, first of all, you standing there and he has your child underneath the water. And then he was like, you're definitely getting implicated. You're going to do it too. You shove her down there. And her dumb ass shoves her down there. What is wrong? What is this? How freaking evil can a mom be? How? That's just ridiculous. You move to a whole stranger's house, bring your daughter, that's not her dad, and he wants to discipline her as soon as she gets there. Because she's 2 years old and she peed on herself. And he stayed home from work to make sure that you beat her with the belt. Come on. What is this? What is this, y'all? This is a shame. For real.
One of the things was that Riley did not like to take the liquid Tylenol for children. She just didn't like the taste. They held her down in the bathtub underwater, trying to get her to take the Tylenol, to teach her to take it. And finally, this is a quote by the mother, Riley was reaching up, please just give it to me. I'll take it.
She actually tried to get away from him a couple of times, and he had like a belt around her and pulled her back, stopped her. When she did, she fell back and hit her head on the tile floor. That was the beginning of the end, when she hit her head. And then, of course, then they tried to force medicine down her and hold her in cold water. And it was just one disaster after another. And this child went through hell on earth for hours and hours.
Towards the end, these are the words, and I hope I don't, but the last words were, she was trying to I've worked a lot of homicides. She tried to get Riley to stand up, and her legs kept crumbling, and she knew then. And the last words that Riley said was,
I love you, Mom.
I love you, Mommy. That's a quote from the mother. Excuse me.
You looked in this woman's eyes. What did you see?
She had remorse, but I think only because she was caught, to be honest with you. She was so wrapped up with trying to make this man happy and appease him that she was willing, in my opinion, to sacrifice her daughter.
And he closed the curtain and came out and said that we need to clean up and get rid of the belts, get rid of the pillow, get rid of anything. He wanted to scrub her down and with bleach and make sure there were no fingerprints on her. He had me get in his truck and we drove to the Walmart.
They got bleach, tape, the container, shovels, all this stuff. Came back. They poured bleach all over her. They tried to pour bleach down her throat because they tried to give CPR.
They didn't want their DNA on her body.
He had worked at a funeral home. He had watched all these police shows. This came from her. So he knew kind of what things to do to maybe destroy evidence. We talked for about maybe 3.5, 4 hours, took a break, came back and did another 3.5 hours of complete confession implicating her husband. He and I went to our superior and said, we need to get eyes on her husband now. So our superior sent a team up towards Spring to put eyes on him. Well, he was already gone. He was headed to the attorney's office. Then somehow he turned around and came back. Well, they all met at his house and he agreed to come down for an interview.
Today's date is 11/23. 07, it is 11:12 p.m. And your name is Royce Clyde Ziegler, is that correct?
That's second.
Kimberly, that's your wife, correct?
Yes, sir.
How'd you get along around?
We got on good. No, sir.
Never spanked her.
Not that I remember.
Royce, we've been doing good. We've been doing good so far. Everything's been rock and roll, pretty good. Don't lie to us.
I'm not lying, yes, sir.
Well, yes, you are.
I've told you guys everything I've known.
No, we got a dead baby here. And I'm going to tell you right now, baby Riley is baby Grace. Read my lips. I know that, and you know that.
I don't know that.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Royce,
I swear to God, I do not know that.
You're going to be charged today with injury to a child and tampering with evidence.
What did you find at the house?
They dressed Riley, put her in a trash bag, put her in the plastic container.
They put those clothes on her to bury her.
They put her out on the shelf in the garage, or the shed for a little bit, the garage, it's a detached. And then this kind of went on for several weeks, if not up to a month and a half or two, deciding, okay, we're going to bury her over here. They even took a ride out. They couldn't do it for whatever reason. They did 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, they found one place they looked at up by Conroe, and they tried to dig the ground. It was too hard, and they couldn't do it, so they took her back. So they were out, had been out shopping places to dispose of her. Doing all that, he was having some computer problems, and he calls the Geek Squad to the house to fix his computer. We later interviewed them because the computer turned out to be important to him tracking where how to bury bodies and stuff like that. And the Geek guys gave us a statement where he could smell it, smell the body.
He didn't know what it was, though,
Yeah,
did
he had no clue.
And eventually, when they came here, they didn't bring any cell phones. They avoided all the toll bridges, tollways, so they could not. So cameras wouldn't catch them. This is his plan, not hers.
What did the computer tell you?
The computer gave us everything to know where he'd been researching disposing of bodies, burial sites,
Cleaning up.
cleaning up our crime scene.
What we did find at the search warrant was I don't want to say a suicide note per se, but it could be concerned, and that it was admitted as one where he threatened to take his own life. He said that he was sorry for what he did, all this. And then, of course, we found a list of everything that was purchased at the Walmart that we confirmed was purchased and also recovered. So there was so much overwhelming evidence.
What's amazing is in the search warrant also was found a pad that said rules for Riley, and it was like 10 things not to do, and some of them were written in his handwriting and some were hers.
Have you changed your mind about talking to us and or asking us some questions?
Yes.
Okay, so you are here voluntarily?
Yes.
Did you request this meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
There was an argument between me and Kim. I basically was giving Kim an ultimatum to fix the entire problem because I was sick and tired of going out in public and Riley was running amok. I wasn't feeling so well, so I stayed home from work that day. And Kim and Riley woke up and they went out to do some errands. They came back. Next thing I know, I hear screaming. And the thing is, you know, it's not my nature to hurt children. I never planned on it. And I wasn't in the room the day when all that stuff was going on.
Do you know how she died?
I wasn't even in the room. All I remember is I heard my name called out that day. I ran in there, saw Riley on the floor, purple.
I am not at all convinced that there's not more to tell. And the reason I say that is because there's been a number of times in the interview today when we have reached, you have good memory to a lot of things, but when we reach something that's critical or crucial moment, well, I don't remember, I blacked out.
He was really more interested in protecting himself and dumping the heat back on his wife than himself. Point blank, no any question about that. It was all about protecting me, and you know, I didn't do this and she did it, and it was all about him.
Typical murder suspect, to be honest. When they're going to give a confession, they're going to tell you the truth, but they're also going to minimize their involvement to make them look good.
Do you have anything that you would like to add to this interview, Royce, that number one, either we have failed to ask you, or two, you would like to volunteer?
That's as much as I can remember. If I remember more, I'll come to you.
What did you find when you went to Ohio?
The first time I went there, I spent basically a week there, 5 days, in interviewing family members. The grandmother, the biological father, uncles and aunts. I didn't find anything that was really negative towards Trenner, the mother. They had their problems. They were young little high school kids when they got pregnant, and you know. What I did find out, though, not about them when I went to Cleveland, but when I did some more follow-up about the stepfather. His daddy is from Arkansas and has a violent temper. And maybe that was instilled in the two boys, and maybe, I'm not saying that's an excuse, but you know what I'm saying?
2-year-old Riley Ann Sawyer's brutal killing shocked the nation. She was beaten to death, stuffed in a plastic box found by a fisherman in Galveston Bay last October. But her parents, charged with the killing, won't face the death penalty because Galveston prosecutors believe death sentences against the two would be thrown out on appeal.
If emotions and just the brutality of the crime alone were the deciding factors, the controlling factors in reaching the decision of whether or not we're going to seek the death penalty, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
Galveston DA Kurt Sistrunk made the decision based on the law, a 2007 ruling by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. The High Court overturned a death sentence in a similar case because there was no evidence the child's mother would be a continuing threat to society. Sistrunk says he doesn't believe it can be proved Riley's stepfather, Royce Ziegler, or her mother, Kimberly Trainer, would be either.
After a lot of deliberation, a lot of thought, consultation with other assistants and district attorneys across the state, this is our decision, and we're bound to abide by it.
In Ohio today, Riley's grandmother and birth father agreed with the DA's decision. Their attorney issued a statement saying they believe, quote, the death penalty would be too easy. The Sawyers prefer that Ziegler spend the rest of his life in prison thinking about Riley's death. Ziegler's defense attorney welcomed the decision.
We're happy that they're not seeking the death penalty at all, but, you know, we still have a capital murder case to try.
Ziegler and Traynor scheduled to stand trial in November.
Millions of people across this country took her into their heart. And there wasn't a day go by, not a day go by for me for years, and even to this day, people will ask you, how do you deal with that? How do you work those cases? How do you do it? And you know, you just have to thank God for your family and your agency that let you do your job.
I know, y'all, it was a crazy story, and my heart goes out to her family, baby Grace that we know, and this is a hard one for me. Yes, this was really, really hard. But I hope y'all stay to the end. If y'all like this video, give us a thumbs up and hit that like button. Alright, y'all, peace. I hope you have a blessed night. Alright, y'all.